I interrupt you.
Gosh.
We're underway. How are you? Slogged a few last night.
Oh, tried my best, yeah. It was a good game, good win for the boys.
Good game. I mean, how are you now? Where are you with your cricket, would you say? What are you looking to achieve now?
That forever trying to get better and really enjoying my time in England with the family and playing here for Middlesex, which is nice. And then obviously a bit of international cricket coming up as well. So trying to strike that life balance, but still enjoying my cricket.
Juices flow when you come here to Lords and see Test match cricket being played?
Yeah, it does. I mean, it's just such a special place to come and play it. In fact, watching my first day of Test cricket at Lords was the Test Championship final and definitely had that feeling, you know, where you know what the players are going through as they turn up to the ground and they've been preparing for the last few days and walking out there and it does get the juices going a little bit. So, but also it was quite cool to watch from a different perspective, yeah.
Something nice in the glass.
A cup of tea, yeah.
We'll come back to the World Test Championship. I'd want to go back to the start, though, with you. Where did cricket begin for you? Was it always cricket? New Zealand is rugby and all that. Was that on the radar for you?
I mean, you have to give rugby a go. Everybody plays rugby, and then you sort of work out that it's not for everybody. And cricket was always something that I loved, along with other sports, and just tried to do as much as I could as a youngster. Playing school sports, the whole family was right into their sport, so there 5 siblings and mum and dad ran a taxi service and basically that was our life growing up.
It'd be fair to say you're a bit of a batting protege as a youngster. Did that? Were you aware of that when you were younger? Because I spoke with Simon Doull last night and he said that everyone was saying this bloke, he's the next Martin Crowe, he's the next best thing that's coming out in New Zealand cricket. Were you aware of that at a young age?
Look, I loved it, you know, and I just spent my days training and people, you know, working hard, which it kind of wasn't working hard because you just loved it. You're in the nets, playing with your mates, and then playing team sports, you know, it's something that I've always enjoyed. And as the years went by, it kind of narrowed down to cricket. I enjoyed just trying to get better. I'd never really considered myself as that, but I suppose being in a large family that certainly keeps you firmly grounded and everybody's doing something, that, you know, it was just one of the kids playing a bit of sport like everybody else, really.
From a young age, you played quite a lot of cricket against grown men. Did that help, or was it quite a daunting challenge?
Yeah, I do remember that being a challenge and a step up, and I think it was, I say the maturity, it wasn't always mature when you'd play grown men at 14, but you know, from playing school kids where that was one level, to then our school team always played in the local men's comp where you are having to kind of grow up a little bit quicker, and you get sledged like your man behind you at times. He did the same thing, but I think I was an adult then, so it was. It definitely was a step up and a learning curve to try and get your head around, and then also the realisation that the skill level between perhaps a reasonable level at school and men's club cricket wasn't a big difference. It was more this other part, which was probably maybe the mental game or getting a few words from behind the stumps or something like that.
When did you think, I can do this? When did you think, right, I've got a chance here at international level? Was there a penny drop moment?
You know, I think going through the grades and just, for me it was, and is, you know, still really trying to get better and trying to offer to whatever team you're in and move your game forward. And so going through sort of some of the representative levels and then playing domestic cricket or professional cricket, this idea of it being a job and some of the distractions and things that can come with that. You know, there were so many moments along the way that you're looking to deal with, but I don't know if it's ever that feeling of you're there. I think it's just constantly navigating where you are and trying to get better, you know, and probably the bigger lessons for me over the years that I recall are actually times where you've been totally exposed, you know, by a level that you thought, gosh, you've not seen before, and it's the best way to try and drive your game forward. And I mean, I'm sure we'll touch on some of those, and I'll speak to my mate over here, which there were a number of times where you know, you're put in positions where you think, am I good enough to do this? And if I'm not, then I'm going to give it everything to try and work out maybe a way to do it.
So how much is batting about problem solving?
Yeah.
In the there and now.
Yeah, for me, that's a really important thing, a really important space to be in, because every day is different and you're just constantly dealing with sort of variables in our game, whether that's a pitch that's seaming or a pitch that's got extra bounce, or the different conditions that you might face, different attacks, and all these sorts of things, or whether it's in the white ball game where you're trying to do it slightly differently and learn new shots even at the ripe old age of 35. But it does constantly present those challenges. So it's how do you use what you have to give yourself the best opportunity, and therefore when you train, it's trying to understand that really well. So when you're out in the middle, can I be nice and present, be aware of what's happening around me and make the adjustments accordingly.
What were the challenges of bowling at Kane?
Very similar to Rooty in the sense that, particularly white ball cricket, you'd be on 30 off 25 balls and you'd think, where have those runs come from? Sort of accumulate very early, very hard to get you unsettled in the first sort of 10, 15 deliveries. There weren't many. When you talk about bowlers' meetings, you try and look at weaknesses of batters and exact ways that they get out. A lot of the time with Kane, it would be, he scores a lot through there, so how do we stop him scoring through there? Does that make sense? So it was not necessarily finding major weaknesses or flaws in the technique. It was, how do we stop him scoring and then get him out without the scoreboard being damaged? To me, I never felt like I could go full to you particularly. I don't know if that was a tactic of yours, but I never even felt of like getting the ball up and moving the ball away, that you'd have a rash drive and get nicked to slip. It was always a patience game of not letting you leave, not letting you just sort of guide it down there for four, have backward point further behind, maybe a gully or a fourth slip as a run saver, but not somewhere that you're going to slash it and get caught. So I'd be trying to get you to play with a straight bat, back of a length, and get a little feather through to the keeper, almost trying to get you to misjudge the length rather than, because I knew I couldn't drag you out there.
A couple of times too, wasn't it? Headingly, if I remember, and there's a little feather off the back of the length. Yeah.
Yeah. So that, I mean, there was no obvious weakness that you could necessarily try and expose, and because I wasn't a big swing bowler away, I never felt like I could sort of drag him away from his body. So disciplined in the line that he'd play, and also because you didn't come at the ball necessarily, that fuller ball, I never felt I was going to get a big gap between bat and pad. And definitely that feeling has to be a good ball, which is frustrating in Test match cricket. You know you've got to bowl a good ball to get a batter out.
He's too modest to talk about this because he always tries to turn it around to the team when he was captain. Whenever I interviewed, you can't turn it around to the team anymore because you're not captain. The fact we've been very privileged to watch Kane bat, the Fab Four, as we call us, so Kane, Joe, Virat, Steve Smith, privileged to watch those four in action in Test match cricket.
Oh, absolutely. And I think very varied in their methods. They started off as conventional Test match cricket batters who were good at ODI cricket, and then they became equally adept at playing other formats too. For me, Kane has always been about being very balanced in life. I think he always got looked at as the big boy of New Zealand, but you meet him and you feel like an old soul in a very young body. He gives you that very calming... It was.
Aging.
Yeah.
You're not denying the old soul.
And I like that about Kane a lot. He's very calm, very easygoing, very approachable. But at the same time, when he did come on the ground, you felt like you had to do something extra if you wanted to get him out. You weren't going to get his wicket away easily, any format for that matter. And he was one of those who understood fields very well. When I played him in the white ball formats, he'd make you at times feel like, oh, can I keep this field? And then he'll beat that and you think, you know what, I should have just stuck to my plan. And that's a bit of a bad place to be as a captain.
We talk about the Fab Four, and we have done for years. You probably don't enjoy talking about it, but were you aware of it? And did it motivate you in any way? Saw you chatting with Joe, just got 37th hundred, 70 Test match hundreds between you. Were you looking at what he was... No, he's not bad. Were you looking at what he was doing, what Kohli was doing, what Steve Smith was doing? And did that in any way incentivise or re-motivate you in some way?
Not probably in the way that you're suggesting. I mean, we would hear this Fab Four tag a little bit, but probably more of the time that we've sort of played against each other and been involved in the game together over so many years, where there is a bit of a connection. But I certainly wouldn't call it, well, from my perspective, competitive. I sort of had bigger things to worry about, which was playing in the team that I was in and trying to have some sort of impact. But But I actually would more appreciate and sort of admire their games, and they all would do it differently, like DK mentioned, and that's the beauty of our game, is that there's just 1,000 ways to do stuff, but you're watching these guys at the top of their game moving the sport forward in such a big way, and so it was more admiration and perhaps opportunities to learn as well.
Okay, what did you learn? Did you take things from Coley, or did you take things from Joe?
You'd take a bunch of things, wouldn't you? But like everybody would do it differently. You look at like Steve Smith, for example, who, I mean, one thing that's constant throughout is that appetite and hunger, right? But if you look at their games in general and their ability to problem solve, and Steve Smith coming up with different ways to get across the stumps and make bowlers bowl different lines, or because you know he's going to be so efficient with the straight delivery, and just these different sort of schools of thought that you start to entertain. I don't know a cricket player that's not impressionable, that doesn't go into a net and try and explore and get better. So, you know, that's one example. And someone like Ruti, who's just incredibly efficient when you miss your line. And honestly, forever, where we'd play England and you just get a little bit straight, he'd flick you off his legs, and it always goes for 4. And you're like, and he's ticking by, and then you get a little bit wide, and the way you can get on top of the bounce and sort of work the ball either in front of point or behind. It may not be whacking it back past the bowler all the time, but just so efficient. And then he took that into his white ball cricket too. And then obviously Virat, you know, probably the greatest all-format player that we've seen for probably in the last 15 years, you know, and has his own challenges, right? In a absolute cricket obsessed country, and he's been at the top of that tree and led the game. So look, there's great sort of relationships and friendships with all of them in slightly different ways, and stay in touch in a lot of ways as well. But yeah, not really that sort of competitive thing. I think you're just in a team that you're wanting to compete as a team and do all those sorts of things.
I was earwigging on your conversation with Stuart. Did you see Virat the other day somewhere, did you say?
Yeah.
With kids in tow.
Yeah, we did, yeah.
Not battling out there with him shouting.
No, yeah, it was quite funny, just full circle, you know, and that's the other part, is that actually you've not just played cricket, but you've kind of lived your lives, you know, in sort of some sort of parallel way for a huge sort of percentage of your lives, whether that's having kids at similar times or whether that's just having, you know, the different things that you experience as you get a little bit older. And so you do connect, on different levels.
Good. Can we break down your technique a little bit? And I would like to start with the very basics. How did you grip the bat? What advice would you give to a youngster to grip the bat? Do you want to put your gloves on or just do it barehanded? It's entirely up to you, whatever you think shows it best.
Yeah, possibly barehanded. But look, a lot of people will say, you know, the V just to the left of the centre of the handle, which helps with access. And for sure, as a young player, that's probably the start point. Whether it's lying the bat flat on the ground, the V's in your hands, and you're basically picking it up in this fashion. It's a really good place to start, to access the ball well, to hit it all around the ground. Personally, my hands kind of go where they want to go, you know, and I would rather work backwards from what the threats and the challenges are, and then try and find out where I need to be with my hands to kind of either access the ball, to hit it perhaps a little bit later so the ball can come under my eyes, and then hold it in a really natural way. So I personally tend to go a little bit further around the back of the bat.
Yeah.
So I kind of re-grip, and then basically wanting to present, playing straight for me, playing late, which I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about, is sort of a really important fundamental to my game. And how you get there, I think, can be different for everybody. You look at the different techniques around the world, everybody does it differently. So that's the beauty of it. So actually having different experiences, whether it's hitting balls in a certain area and finding a way to do it that suits you, I think is probably more important.
Do you know what you did there when you're doing that?
Flicked it around, yeah.
We got some examples of that, and your mate who you're talking to over there, Joe Root, for a period of time, copied you.
Did he?
What's the reason?
Copied me and did it better than me. Okay.
Probably. No, I didn't say he did it better than you. He just copied you. What's the reason why you're flipping it? Is it relax?
Yeah, and it's just not a conscious thing. I don't know I'm doing it. I'm quite thankful that often it ends up in the right place. But I don't think I did it at the start of my career, and I'm not sure where it came in and how. Yeah, maybe it's just a part of some of those habits that you start to generate over the years. But
If I heard you right, you said you decide where you want to play depending on what the pitch is, and then the grip takes care of itself. Like, so what I'm hearing is you can change your grip as you bat on a given day. Is that right?
yeah, I mean, I will adjust my grip subtly. I mean, there is, when I'm walking out to the crease and you're wanting to rely on something that you trust, there's a consistency to probably the start of your innings. And then as you get a feel for whether there's a little bit more bounce, and often if there is a bit more bounce, then I feel like maybe you can get a little bit further around the back of the grip just to present on top of the ball a little bit more, because you know the threat is actually the ball coming up at you versus skidding and perhaps bringing in the front pad like maybe we're seeing out here at Lord's a little bit. So it might be actually opening the blade so you can present and not get closed off. And those are probably some of the differences in conditions, whether it's like Australia or New Zealand and these sorts of places where the ball coming up at you versus the ball shooting sort of from that similar length that brings in LBW, and that can be in the subcontinent too. So making those subtle adjustments.
And do you change your grip based on formats as well? For T20?
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah?
And
How would
sometimes
that
for the
difference
same
be?
reasons, you know.
Like, what would the difference be for a test and then in a T20?
Yeah, well, sometimes as you drop down the formats and I might start thinking that I can access the offside a little bit more, you might just open it up a little bit, get the Vs further down the left side, so then as you're meeting the ball, your blade's slightly more open to help access that part of the ground. And likewise, you might close it a little bit, get across your stumps if the ball's sort of holding in the surface a little bit, and you can try and hit the ball into these sorts of areas. So just things that if you are present in the moment and you're trying to problem solve, which for me is an important part of my game, that you try and just make those subtle adjustments as you go.
I'd like to show you some interception points between you and the Fab Four, if I may. Because the feature of your batting, as Stuart said, has always been how late you play it. Now, on average in Test match cricket, this is how the Fab Four have done it. So yourself, Steve Smith, Joe Root and Virat Kohli, you play it later than any of those three. Now, some of it might be to circumstances, i.e. the pitches you're playing on. Home pitches in New Zealand might decree that you've got to wait that little bit longer. Kohli might want to go out it a bit more if he's playing in Bangalore. My question to you is, how do you do that? How did you train? If we go down to the net, can I throw you a few? Because I spoke with Sachin Tendulkar here, with Warnie actually, and he said he would sometimes have a net, and it would be a bowling machine or throws or whatever. And his sole aim was to defend so the ball wouldn't roll in to the side netting. That was his goal.
Okay.
Is that something that resonates with you? I've got some softballs here. So
yeah,
if I was to throw, if you go in your stance, if I was to throw some, what would you be trying to do?
Definitely, that's one way for me. This idea of playing late, sometimes it can suggest being a little bit passive, because people think, oh, we're going to play late, we're not going to make strong contact, whereas the more important part for me is where on the ball I'm trying to hit it. So therefore, if a bowler is to miss in your area, then you can still look to hit through the ball and try and put them under a little bit of pressure with their length. So in terms of keeping it in the net, I think is obviously brilliant. Sachin the master. For me, it would also be making strong contact and trying to hit it straight into the ground as best you can. Therefore, trying to hit basically the top half of the ball. So your shape now becomes this versus a little bit maybe a neutral, and then you push out with your hands. So it's just sort of a thought that you can bring into your mind. So you can walk into the nets and maybe go, okay, I'm going to look to hit the top half of the ball. All of a sudden, I'm going to be a little bit more in this position, and therefore my hitting zone just comes a bit further back to me.
I was just trying to hit the ball.
Yeah, well,
You're
that's
talking about
absolutely
hitting the top
plan
half
A.
of the ball.
Yeah, yeah.
So what are you watching when it's coming down? It comes out of Stuart Broad's hand.
Yeah.
What are you watching?
Yeah, look, I try and, the wobble, the wobble and the hope that it doesn't seam and hit you on the front pad, or definitely I try and be quite relaxed. You know, sometimes you can be really intense and you think, watch, but actually I'm trying to be nice and relaxed, watch the general area of release, which obviously can vary from bowler to bowler. And then it's more of a mindset that encourages a strong position. So if I'm thinking, okay, the threat of the ball is, say, in England, or where it perhaps started was actually getting exposed with a ball called the Tiflex, which did absolutely all sorts, and it was a total shock to my life for a number of months until I sort of managed to find some sort of way to do something. And it was actually, I need to address the ball. If it's moving sideways and I'm meeting the ball like that, then I'm sort of exposed in a number of ways, where if I can try and perhaps hit this part of the ball and limit the damage from the good balls, which is obviously the one that leaves you or nips back, and perhaps the nick can go down, then it might give me a slightly better chance. That's kind of the thought process. So not overly complex, but...
Do you fancy bowl it at some point, Broady? You must throw a wobble ball at him. So if I throw it on and around off
bit stiff.
Oh, you played last night.
Oh, gosh, I know.
Right. Bit full. Come back onto a length, if I can. Oh, well bowled. Right, whoops, sorry. That was one of your nip backers, Broady. So that's the position with the bat there.
Yeah.
Like that. That's what you mean about the top of the ball.
Yeah, basically.
So is that when you're in a defensive mindset, or that just comes naturally? So are you looking to score first and then it's hitting the top of the ball?
I guess that's what the misconception of playing late can be, is that it has to be defensive. But for me, it's not. It's actually just how you're trying to address the ball, and then when it does come in under your eyes, you can still snap through it and make the contact, because you absolutely want to be looking to score, to be in strong positions. And even if I'm leaving the ball, it's the same thing. I want to track it and it's not there for me, but my body is in a ready position to score. That's certainly the idea, versus being passive at the crease and thinking you just leave your hands behind, which I don't think is sort of a beneficial thing. So, someone like Broady running in, who you know is going to really challenge you in that area. He's going to bring in all modes, whether that's top of the stumps, the nick off. You still need to be able to come up with ways to score in your area and be nice and disciplined with that. So being soft on the ball, I don't think is a wise move, looking to score.
What guard do you take for youngsters? What's the? Is it a neutral thing? Is always middle stump, or again is it condition dependent?
I have a preference of taking middle, and from there I might adjust, where on middle I stand. But I'll cut the line with my toes. So if I'm back in the crease, it might be centre, and I'm really conscious of wanting to know where my off stump is. So therefore I can leave the ball with confidence and know that if it's getting tight, I'm setting up to try and play the ball nice and straight and be efficient off my legs, basically.
In terms of knowing where your off stump is, if you go back into what your normal stance would be, we're seeing, as an example, Zach Crawley with his back foot sort of here, outside off stump. Does that mean you know more about where your off stump is, or less about where your off stump is?
I think it helps you be nice and confident that if the ball is now outside your eye line, then your options become quite clear. Yeah. But the important part to it is obviously, if you do get across your stumps, is continuing to make sure that you present really straight, because naturally it brings in other modes of dismissal. But having the confidence that if the ball gets wide, if it is nipping round, bowlers might get a little bit straight, but you're really backing either your defensive position or your ability to hit the ball through the leg side, which is obviously Steve Smith's. Absolutely, it challenges that in big ways. But.
Was there certain pitches that you decide to go deeper in the crease or come forward? You see a lot of players now might be 2 foot outside the crease and then go deeper. For people watching at home or playing on a Saturday, are there certain things you'd look in a surface or a bowler that you'd go deeper, or would you always just be the same?
Yeah, I found that interesting, and it kind of ties into knowing where your off stump is as well. I actually found when I started too far out of my crease, I just found I wasn't 100% sure where I was in space. Sometimes you might walk into the line of the ball, not really, very rarely for me, sorry, but otherwise generally I like to just kind of know, like, that when I'm in this in my stance, I want to be nice and clear where off stump is, and then have a, through preparation, have that real trust around your defensive position that, okay, if it does keep low, if it does seam, and I'm going to present, and if it nips back like that nasty throw you through to me, then, the off cutter.
A bit of grass on this
if I'm still presenting straight and trying to limit the damage with it either leaving me or nipping back, then you're still in a reasonable position.
Did you do any drills to groove playing straight, to just groove your technique? I've seen some players, Ricky Ponting showed me one actually, to turn his shoulder and he wouldn't use his feet. So just get some underarms, turn and do that. Did you do any drills like that?
Yeah, very
Come on
similar.
then, what did you used to do?
Possibly got it from watching actually Ricky Ponting's Sky, but it's actually, not moving the feet, because you want to really engage that shoulder, and then it brings everything right back to you, because sometimes if you're getting slow throws and you're doing drills, you can get a bit long and pushy. So I'll touch on drills, but a lot of times I'd rather experience the challenge. So whether that's doing some machine work, whether it's really ramping it up, but knowing where it is, and forcing you into those strong positions, so you're either holding, snapping down, playing the ball late, but then also being able to play off both feet. So playing late, it's an interesting topic. It's about obviously where you meet the ball, but also the idea of letting the ball come to you can help with making those later decisions, because the best bowlers in the world, Broadie's running in, he's not missing by much. I sort of talk about maybe the colours of decision might be pink, sort of a light orange and a red, and that's the difference between the red one. You might have an opportunity to punch down the ground. The peach might be the one that you leave, and the light orange might be a defensive shot. And that's the difference between perhaps a lower level where you get a big long half volley, you get a short ball that you pull, and then you get a wide one that you can't touch. So actually being able to try and bring your hitting zone back to give you just a little bit more time to make a better decision is another part to this idea of playing late, in my mind.
Can you just do, if I underarm you a few, can you just do a couple of those no feet drills that you spoke about at punt? If you go back in the crease, we've got a bit of depth, and just explain the feeling and what you're trying to do. So no feet is to turn, and where do you want it? Do you want underarm onto a length or something?
Yeah, just chuck some underarms straight, and basically what I'll be trying to do is hit the ball firmly, so get ready, but into the ground. So I'm not meeting the ball. And the interesting part of this, and you mentioned some of those hitting zones, in India, for example, I'm trying to look for ways to get just a little bit further out to meet the ball. So naturally, someone like Virat's going to want to meet the ball because the threat isn't the bounce as such. It might be that there's more opportunities to score with the new ball. So how do I get out in front and take advantage of that? But so for this drill, it'll be wanting to still be nice and ready and make sure I'm still hitting the ball firmly, but I'm trying to let it come. So I'm ready to make contact, I'm ready to score, but I'm looking to hit the top half of the ball firmly into the deck. So it puts me in a more ready position.
One more. Let's talk about the head position. I'm going to throw you one outside off stump. That's lovely through mid-wicket. Just straight away, I've got some examples of it actually, we'll show you in due course, but your head position is into it. Is that what you're thinking about if I throw you offside?
Yeah, I think straight away, well, let's do a couple on the offside, but...
Yeah. What's the head? Where are you going with your head into those?
Yeah, well, I think it comes back to how I'm looking to address the ball. So by looking to hit the top half, naturally, it's very difficult to do if we're back on the ball, right? So if we're back on the ball, we're going to push our hands out and we're going to start hitting the back of the ball. Whereas we sort of discussed a little bit earlier that if I'm looking to hit the top half, I do have to be a little bit further forward with my head to give myself the space to hit the ball under my eyes and sort of make contact like what you're seeing from the other end, which is your head and shoulder being over the ball and then just being able to hit through it. But still and slightly in front of yourself, so it's not playing late where you leave your hands behind, it's actually still pushing off, creating the space because your head and shoulder are sort of in front of your toe, and then being able to make that late contact.
What about playing the short ball?
Yeah.
Are you saying to yourself as you walk out, if Stuart Broad bangs it in, I am taking it on, or are you just seeing it and reacting? Field dependent, obviously. What are you thinking?
Yeah, so like in Test cricket, being the thing, for me, with Broadie, and I mean, especially here, you're looking to identify the biggest threat. And a lot of the time with the Duke ball in England, it's knee roll, where the ball can nip back or leave you, so the sideways movement. So first things first, it'll be wanting to be nice and clear and trusting of that position. And then getting a real feel for the surface. And that might be partly history as well, where you have a bit of an understanding of the conditions and how bowlers look to try and operate predominantly. And then certainly later on in Broadie's career and in recent years, there's been a lot more, and we've done it a lot with Neil Wagner and a bit more sort of planning around using the short ball in large quantities. But for me, it'll be trying to take care of the biggest threat as well as I can. So whether that's going under the short ball initially because you're really more concerned with something else, which is the ball that might nip back or leave you. And a lot of the times, correct me if I'm wrong, the short ball's to set that up. Is that fair, Broadie?
Yeah, I mean, in Test cricket particularly, unless you go for that short ball field where you have everyone dotted around, you're bowling the short ball, ideally over middle and leg stump, just to set the weight back so that when you go into length, it's crucial that you don't then go floaty and full.
A bit like they were trying to do to Karen.
Yeah, so then when you go into length, you're like Kane's talking about his head position being in a certain place. If you can get that 4 inches further back, that's when the nick can come. So a lot of the time, that's why it's so important as a bowler, when you look to bowl that short ball, it's not high and wide and the batters just get a look and they're like, oh, okay, that's fine. Yeah. You need them to have a bit of a shock, need a bit of a jump. You need it to be on the money. And because it is the follow-up ball that you're trying to set that bouncer up for. And I don't remember ever really targeting you with the short stuff. I felt you were very calm with the short stuff, particularly.
No, not specifically. You'd always bowl a few because that's what you have to do, isn't it, when you're 6'5" and
80 miles an hour.
Yeah, but but it's it's something that almost regardless of pace, it's got to be encouraged for that same reason. I know when I'm captaining a team, you're absolutely wanting to set guys back and know that it's there, and whether it's 135 or 145, if it's an accurate one, and the batsman knows that it's going to be bowled, then you've got other things to consider, which is important.
DK, what was his, going to go on a spin now for a bit, what was Kane's great strength playing spin, would you say?
Picking length. What he was really good at was he'd play most good length balls off the back foot. And the better players of spin played off the back foot. But the moment you went slightly fuller, he was able to put that away. But because he's slightly shorter than the usual normal batsman, let's say, he was able to hit balls of good length very comfortably with the back foot. And he had a very late back cut, much later than a lot of people, and a very good pull. So if you have those two shots square of the wicket that's strong, then it's very hard to stop you from taking singles. And I think that's one of the reasons why he's so good in one-day cricket as well, because his ability to rotate strike was as good as anyone who's played the game. And in T20, he used the same angles to try and hit boundaries. So if you're able to play off the back foot, which is what he did, then that becomes really hard for a spinner to control. Then they'll go slightly fuller, hoping that, you'd probably play front to that. But that he was able to obviously take down if it was too full, or just play the single off the front foot.
When we look at interception points for some of the great players of spin, as DK's just said, Rahul Dravid was one we used as a prime example. It was either there or there. There was nothing here. We did it with Michael Clarke as well, same sort of thing. Was that what you were thinking? Do not get caught in that bit in between.
Yeah, I mean, and definitely when we talk about spin, and then there are times where you play spin when it spins, and then there's times where you play spin when it doesn't spin, and we kind of lob it into this idea of it. But playing spin, for example, in India, where there's going to be some assistance, that you're wanting to smother length and take away that middle ground, because as soon as you're there, the spinners in India are incredibly accurate. You're bringing in all these players around the bat, and so actually if you do get really close to the ball, then even if it's turning in, you can still sort of access the offside of the ground, and basically you're stopping it sort of reacting too much off the surface, and then if it's slow, you're getting nice and deep in the crease to give you that space to sort of access the ball. But like DK mentioned, a lot of my game against spin was was playing off the back foot. In fact, when I was younger, it was actually running down the wicket every ball, and then I realised it was a slightly different thing playing spin against school kids than it was against the best spinners in the world, and quickly had to go the other way, which was getting nice and deep in your crease, but still trying to use your feet. The footwork thing for me is probably a bigger part of my spin game than perhaps the hands, where you're getting a little bit lower. You're looking to get a little bit longer potentially just to take out that middle ground.
You want to sweep, what's the do's and don'ts? And is it premeditated?
For me, there's balls I like to sweep and there's balls I don't. And for a lot of it, I'd prefer, I mean, gosh, you're talking about sweeping, let's pass that over to DK. But initially it would be using my feet and getting either a long way forward. And quite honestly, I actually recall watching Gautam Gambhir, who is an incredible player of spin, and it would almost de-weight his front foot. So he could sort of go half step and then go again and almost leave your crease to get right to the length of the ball and either manoeuvre it sort of through the offside or the leg side. And I do recall that early on in my career, seeing that and thinking, gosh, it's really difficult to bowl to, because he could, for a shortish guy like myself, as you mentioned, DK, and very much yourself, he had this incredible ability to either get right out or sit back and play the ball through there. So I probably took a few things from the coach in the opposition's dressing room there.
If you want to have a quick demo for a sweep, what are the key things? How would you practice it with a kid? Do I underarm it? Do you try and catch it on the full just to get the feel to start with? I
mean, for me, not a shot I play a lot of, but the chat, and in fact, if I do, often it's actually trying to hit the ball in front of square, unless it's a left arm ortho that gets a little bit straight, and then I'll kind of try and hit it on its head. But a little bit like how I face seam, playing straight is a big part of my setup, but it's a lot of the same principles. I will not sweep that one.
Okay, what do you want to get on the full?
So you might start in the position where you're going to try and present, get your head nice and forward, so you're creating a little bit of space to sweep. But
arms extended, that's the other key
arms
point,
extended, is it? Just gives you that little bit of leeway if you don't get it quite perfectly. A little bit like the pull shot. If your arms are bent, it's sort of more of a chance of it going straight up if it isn't perfect. But
you're probably not going to like me for this. Do you want to throw in some wobble seam, Phoenix from the Flames?
You're going to try and...
It could work if you get my arm up anymore.
You're not going to tell me to do a Joe Root reverse lap, are you? That is not in the...
Rolling back the years.
Is he going to scoop me? Is that what he's going to do?
I don't know what he's going to try and do.
I don't think I've ever bowled in a Panama before.
Go back a bit, go back a bit, go back a bit.
Gosh, don't rip it out. Which one is it now?
Well, I was thinking bouncer. What do you think about that? Oh.
Oh.
Do MLB.
It swung a little bit too.
First time in 15 years.
Oh, that's too wide.
No, drag him across.
Oh,
drag him
across.
Drag
right.
him across.
He's straight on that length.
Last one.
Two slips, two gully.
Last one. He's charged.
Short leg. Got you like that, DK, didn't I? Once?
Brilliant. Kane, it's been fascinating to talk to you. Appreciate you coming in.
Thank you.
Great to see you still whacking them for Middlesex.
Oh, yeah, trying.
Fantastic.
It's good fun. Enjoying it. Cheers,
Good
Thanks,
stuff.
mate.
Thank you so much.
DK.
Thank you, DK.
Cheers,
Thank you,
guys.
Brody. Right.